Welcome to Across Africa, France 24's weekly roundup from across the continent. Coming up this week, it's a short-lived return to school in Abidjan as pupils are sent home by protesting teachers. Some staff are firmly against a new 5-day working week and want to return to the 4-day shifts that they've become accustomed to. Also, in Gabon, there are calls for an international investigation into the military's response to rioting that followed the re-election of President Ali Bongo. The days of unrest have cast a shadow over cities across the country. And DIY drama from Uganda is winning over lovers of kitsch thrills. We meet the team behind Ramon Films, whose low-budget, big-bang productions are, dare I say it, some of the most enjoyable escapades I've seen for a while. But first, on Tuesday, more than 3 million schoolchildren in Ivory Coast headed back to class. But the return hasn't gone smoothly for everyone. The country's main teachers' unions are firmly against an extension to the working week for primary school teachers. They're now working 5 days rather than 4. Our correspondent sent us this report.
For these students in Abidjan, it was a short-lived return to school. Lessons had only just begun before they ended. Pupils left the classroom called upon to do so by teachers protesting against their new 5-day working week.
We are primary school teachers and we've been told now to work on Wednesdays. We will protest until they totally and utterly retract this hostile maneuver.
The majority of schools in Abidjan were open as usual. But despite being back at the blackboard, teachers' unions say they are totally against this reform. Until now, many teachers use the day off to give private, paid tuition. The move has divided opinion amongst parents.
If there was school on Wednesdays, that would allow children to develop intellectually and have more time to work at school.
Wednesday would tire the kids out. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, no, it would be too tiring.
But the government isn't budging. Despite the resistance and the protests, they say primary school children and teachers must work a little harder.
We are working in the interest of our children. We are doing this so that they can succeed. We are doing this to improve our education provision so that we can have a competitive system, so that our children can compete with children from anywhere in the world.
The Ivorian government admits relatively short teaching hours and lack of classroom equipment has set students back. Ivorian educational results are some of the lowest in the region. But with this reform, the government hopes they'll be a step closer to making better grades.
Gabonese rights groups are calling for an international inquiry into the military's response to rioting that followed President Ali Bongo's re-election. He scraped a win with just 6,000 votes at the end of last month. The unrest that followed attracted unwelcome international scrutiny for a leader whose family's run the country for nearly 50 years. Cities across Gabon still bear the scars of the most recent political clashes.
The remains of burned-out cars alongside the town hall of Port-Gentil's 3rd District, a district governed by President Ali Bongo's Gabonese Democratic Party. The building was one of the targets attacked in post-election violence in the city, which overall is an opposition stronghold. For the past 2 weeks, the governor of the province has been trying to make people here feel more secure amidst the tensions. He's on his way to inspect a local market that's recently been torched. Here, there's not much left of the stalls, mostly owned by foreign traders who've now lost everything. Extensive material damage, but officially no deaths were recorded during the riots.
We're sad to see here in Port-Gentil that there have been injuries among the rioters and the police. In terms of deaths, Port-Gentil has not recorded any dead.
But there's a rumor going around that several people were indeed killed. That's yet to be confirmed by independent observers. Elsewhere, things are slowly returning to normal. And that's a relief for this Lebanese shopkeeper at the Grand Market Village. He remembers the violent unrest in 2009.
In 2009, there was lots of damage, but this time was quiet. You can see Grand Village hasn't even been touched. Everything is normal. The streets are full of people. There are even traffic jams.
A few kilometers further away lies Océan. It was the scene of post-election clashes between demonstrators and security forces. Since the riots, a tenuous calm prevails in this opposition stronghold.
The people here are fed up. You can walk the whole neighborhood and not see any public water fountains, any health facilities. There's nothing here.
Across Gabon, a tense wait remains for those hoping for a return to stability, sooner rather than later.
Once the pride of Africa's dance scene, Guinea's Ballet Africain has seen its star burn bright and then fade since its beginnings in the early 1950s. Veteran acrobats are still training a new generation, but it's facing a very uncertain future.
They are the latest generation of a Ghanaian dance troupe that used to travel worldwide. It was called the African Ballet and was created in the early 1950s. The troupe was highly successful until the death of Guinea's first president, Sékou Touré, in 1984. His successor, Lansana Conté, was less interested in art and stopped funding the dancers. Today, they are still struggling financially.
Nowadays, it's hard because during the First Republic, we were paid by the state. Now we're working with young people who aren't being paid, except when we do shows in some places. The little we earn, we give it to them.
The Culture Ministry has promised to start a new funding program, but for now the troupe has to rehearse in the National Assembly. Some of the dancers are disillusioned.
When we go to America or France, we are well received, not like here. When we go to another country, the African ballet is admired.
But the older dancers still like to pass on their knowledge to the younger generation.
We are still here. Ballet is still going strong. We have passion running through our veins. Many young people are here. They are volunteers.
The troupe is comprised of dancers and musicians. Their common goal is for Guinea's African ballet to be as famous and successful as its predecessor more than 30 years ago.
Across the rough grasslands of Lesotho, scruffily dressed jockeys race their horses before hundreds of cheering spectators packed along the hillsides. Horse racing in the Mountain Kingdom is highly competitive and a major social occasion.
At 16 years old, Madikeng is one of the best jockeys in Lesotho. It's the eve of an important race, and the young shepherd can see himself finishing first.
I will be very excited if I win and very proud, because I will have won a professional race in front of everyone, all the horse owners.
Across the Mountain Kingdom of Lesotho, people use horses and donkeys to get around. Horse races are a way to celebrate the kingdom's culture, attracting hundreds of spectators. 5 races are organised to mark the king's birthday. Owners parade their mounts in front of the crowd and the betting gets underway. It's now Madikeng's turn to compete, finishing 4th, just enough to save his honour.
All the horses were very good. During training, my horse got injured, so didn't train him very fast. So next time, if no injury, we'll be fine.
The day's winner is a horse called Talkalot, a purebred that never loses.
It's because I train my horse very hard. I don't let it run, I keep him tight.
€1,000 is distributed as prize money, raised by the country's tourism board and local companies. These sponsors allow the tradition to flourish and hope to raise the sport to a professional level.
The future of the horses of Lesotho comes out of these races, where all your breeders and horse owners can analyse and look at the different horses and decide how they want to take their horses forward.
Madikeng has ridden for a number of owners, winning a total of €50, the equivalent to 5 days' work. One day he hopes to own his own horses, to continue the tradition and make himself rich.
Well, now we head to Uganda, where a self-taught filmmaker is producing low-budget action movies from a makeshift studio with no electricity or plumbing. But that's no reason not to go big with the bangs. The team's reputation, both at home and abroad, has been gathering momentum for a while now. And with the recent arrival of an American producer, their international cult following just keeps growing.
This is the Wakaliwood film set, and work's underway for the latest eagerly awaited offering from Ramon Studios. Self-taught director and writer Isaac Nabwana set up the company in 2005. The former bricklayer admits he's come a long way since then.
We used to gather every weekend with my brother's teammate, because for them they had a kung fu team at Nalukolongo. So I used to gather them every weekend, and we could go around the shores of Lake Victoria, and we could, just say that you be bad boys, be this, and then it's like that. That never worked because we did not have a script to follow.
With resources scarce, creativity is key. Guts and gore look no further than condoms filled with food dye. As for the other props,
this gun I made it out is a raw machine, then I modified with a pipe, steel pipe, in a scrapyard.
The budget, aesthetic and homemade special effects have earned the studio a dedicated cult following. These are the names of people who've travelled to Uganda for the honour of being killed off in an action scene. Among them, New Yorker Alan Hoffmanis, now the studio's international distribution consultant. He came after seeing a trailer for Who Killed Captain Alex.
There's fan clubs in Berlin, in South Korea, in China. We've had premieres in Latvia, in Norway, in Toronto. My dream would be that there's a full-blown studio. There's no reason why it's not. We have a studio already, just no electricity or plumbing.
The studio's latest offering, a feature film called Bad Black, will have its world premiere later this month in Austin, Texas.
A true example of where there's a will, there's a way. That is, though, where we're going to have to leave it for Across Africa. Thanks for joining us.